Alright everyone, so hi, I hope everyone's doing okay. This week we're going to do things slightly differently. This week we're going to shoot a reaction video of my own class. This was a demo lesson about a week ago to roughly 50 students. At that stage I had absolutely no idea what their levels were, how many of them were going to be there, do they even have a computer, or really any of this. It was an absolute surprise lesson. But still, I think there are a couple things that you might benefit from watching it. So we're gonna watch it together. It's gonna be an interesting experience. It's my first ever reaction video, but hopefully you will benefit from the experience, and you'll also have an idea of the things that I pay attention to when I observe the lesson. So let's get started.
So, hello everyone. This is David, or
wait for it. This is way too much, especially the Mr. David bit, but that's sort of what our students expect from Boxmore, is that you're going to have a teacher who's called Mr. David.
Blue shirt. 2, you need a tie. And 3, you need a Boxmore pen to get started. Now, we just started. We already looked at the microphone and video. We looked at...
So just to stop the video at this stage, we've already looked at, before I told them that the lesson's going to be recorded, we looked at how the microphone and the video works, we looked at the reactions, and we've also looked at the chat already to break the ice. The reason why I'm dressed like this is just a demo lesson, and at Boxmore, if you're teaching a lesson, you're supposed to wear a tie, and then you become Mr. or Miss.
Reactions. There's one more thing that I'd like you to try. At the bottom of your screen, if you go to the bottom, it says chat. It says a little bubble.
So the things that I'm doing it at the moment, I think it's always nice to use body language in online teaching, so you can give students more information. Similarly, what I'm doing now, like asking students to type in the city where they're from, where they're from. I'm also giving them a demo of saying that, I work in Greenwich, so the expectations are clear. So I not only tell them what the task is going to be, I'm also showing it to them, telling them where the chat box is, and giving a demo as well. And some of them already started answering.
Or so, St. Peter, oh, brilliant. Look at this. Online learning is bringing us together. Perfect, brilliant. Oh, and a couple places...
The energy level of the lesson is obviously way too high to what I would do, but hopefully this is engaging enough for a demo lesson.
We're going to be looking at quite a number of things. It's as you can see, there are so many of you in the lesson at the moment.
I think there were roughly 50 students in the lesson, and it's always good to point out what you're going to do and what you're going to cover.
Normally this would be a one-to-one lesson. We try to make it as engaging
what I could have done at the same time is using this section of the screen and put the learning outcomes and objectives up. However, using present video that I'm using at the moment doesn't really allow for that. But it's still nice to signpost and tell students what they're expected to do.
To do the next part, can you go once again to the bottom left corner and can you press unmute?
So once again, what's happening is just giving them an introduction to...
Hello.
Okay. Keep your microphone on. Don't unmute.
So it's giving the students an introduction to what's happening, and especially if you have new students who you don't know, it's good to assume nothing. We're doing some tactile learning bit and just warming up.
Now, the next part, you'll have to repeat everything you hear after.
And it's going to be a repeat after this section.
Okay.
Everything?
Everything?
And now we're checking whether the students understood or not.
Good.
And they're actually repeating everything.
Wood. Chuck.
Obviously, not the best image for Chuck.
Woodchuck.
Woodchuck.
All right.
And
This is the start.
I think you already know what's
This is only going to get more complicated from here on. So we're going to say how.
How?
How much?
How much?
Right, just repeat with me. How much wood?
How much wood?
Okay. Notice that this is different wood. Wood and wood sound the same. So we're going to...
That's good to tell students that the pronunciation of these two are exactly the same.
Wood.
Brilliant. Okay, so we say how much wood
One thing that's fairly difficult to do with a big group or a class like this is making sure that they're they're saying the tongue twister at the same time. And I think what you see happening now is like me stopping them and just wait. I think it's just to pull students a bit back.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck?
Land, we're gonna add if. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if?
How much wood would a woodchuck?
And we're working intonation a little.
Okay, listen very carefully. At if, we're gonna go up. Now, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a?
How much wood would a woodchuck
If a, brilliant. And then we're going to repeat woodchuck again.
Obviously, once again, the difficulty is that students are progressing at a different rate, and that's very likely to be also affected by internet speed. So something to keep in mind in the future is that data travels slower or faster depending on where it's going. And I think you see where we're going.
Okay, and then we're going to go back to chuck again. So how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck?
One thing that I tend to do, and I think what I notice myself more and more doing, is that look, when I'm asking them, when I'm asking the students to do something for me, I tend to open it. So what you can see now is that my body language is closed, and I'm also telling them just listen. And now I'm just opening up my body language so students know it's their turn now. It's just the way it works is that I'm talking, you're talking, and it's very easy to manage expectation and manage roles.
But for now, just hold your hand like this if you were giving me a handshake. Okay? Come on, Deanna, we need to see your hands. All right, flip it over.
Some nomination.
Cross it over. Okay, put it over there. And say, good job.
Yeah.
Well
And some,
all right,
you know,
guys,
feedback.
remember, we looked at the chat box. So whenever I want to know, can you mute yourself in the corner? Can you just click on mute?
You can actually hear someone's, I think, birds or dog coming through. So instead of muting them, what you can do is to ask them to mute themselves so they can use the bottom left corner. If it's still happening, then of course I would actually mute someone.
That's almost very difficult to say as well. Quarantine has been my life for the last 3 months here in the UK. I've been stuck in my son's room. You think that I'm in a big space, but this is a teeny tiny room. So the word I always think, like when I first hear the word quarantine, for me it means a small room. Now, using the chat box, which you remember is at the bottom of your screen.
And once again, just a recap of what I'm expecting.
What is the first word, or what are the first couple words that come to your mind when you hear the word quarantine? Just type it in. I'm going to give you a couple seconds, and then we're going to come back.
So, instructions, I told the students how long they have, what they have to do, and now just waiting and also commenting on what's coming back.
Well done.
But also encouraging everyone else to participate just by waiting.
Okay, we say stay safe, isolation, coronavirus, good. Anyone else going mad? Yes, I absolutely. If you couldn't tell, I don't know how long we can keep doing this. Anyone else using the chat box? Any other words? If you've already typed in a word,
students have been giving me really good answers, but what I'm also trying to do is just encourage them to really get more engaged. We don't need to, stop the students from doing something. Just encourage them a bit more, push them a bit more. Is there anything else?
Watching films in English, Netflix. Oh, Diana and Ludmila almost think about the very same things. Good. All right.
You can see that I don't know any of the students, but I'm already trying to nominate, to make things personal, to make people engaged. It's sort of building up towards the end of the lesson as well.
At night, when I still work, I have to take all my stuff and then I go out. All right. I'm going to show you a couple statements, and it's going to be very simple. If you agree, give me a thumbs up. If you disagree, give me a thumbs down. So what do you do if you agree?
Some instruction checking questions. Everyone on the other end of the video is now actually giving me a thumbs down. So a thumbs up. And now a thumbs down, so everyone understands what's happening. One thing that's difficult in this lesson and doing it this way, like right now in some reaction videos that we can't see the audience, they're not recorded.
Okay, we have some serious cat people in the audience. I myself, I'm more of a dog person, but when I saw someone like dogs are better than cats, that can't be right. All right, now the next thing we're gonna do, if you agree, pat your head. All right, if you disagree, pat your shoulders. Okay, and
It's that tactile way of trying to include the students in the lesson.
Buttons, that's not enough. You need to do it with us. All right. So I like learning online. What do we do? Oh, nice crowd. Okay. Very, very good. Most of you like learning online. Maima, why don't you put in the chat box? Why not? And then we're gonna come back to it a bit later. Okay. Now.
And someone has just said that I don't like learning online, so I asked them to put it in the chat box. Don't forget it. We're gonna get feedback on it.
Okay. If you agree, I'd like you to just stand. If you disagree, I'd like you to jump. All right. So the next statement. The quarantine is a good chance to improve myself. If you agree, stand. If you disagree, we need to see you jump. How do we feel about quarantine? Oh, brilliant. We have a very, very nice crowd. All right, brilliant.
And I think actually people were standing.
Like I said, when I ask people, like, what's the first word that comes to your mind? These are the things.
One thing about this, it's a nice word cloud. You can create one yourself. You just copy the text that you want. And then I think you just Google the word cloud and it will direct you to a website and you can create your very own word cloud.
It's death, it's die. When I look at this, I feel like, come on, people. We also have so many opportunities. So there's one more word. That comes
Once again, this is a very cool feature of Prezi Video that just creates a layer on your webcam.
What do you think? What's the word that I have in mind?
So this is a word jumble, seeing what students know, but also trying to make them engaged. Looking at what we're going to do now is just, we could also talk about consonants. They could have gone to the top row with vowels in the bottom row. Someone turned their microphone on, so I just muted them. And I think there were a few people who immediately, I think a few people immediately started typing in resolution. Don't accept the answer immediately. Try to ask them for more. Are there any other words? Do you know any other words? Are there any more that we can create? I think things came up were like solution, ton. I don't remember the other words, but there were a few that came up.
Isolation, routine, rest. Brilliant. All right.
I don't know how they made isolation, but routine I thought was very creative.
In fact, I'm going to show it to you this time. I'm just going to go to the whiteboard. Can everyone see the whiteboard? If yes, can you just use the reaction button and can you just give me a big thumbs up? Can everyone see the whiteboard?
So you can see that my setup is that my camera is facing away, but my screen is in front of me, so drawing on the whiteboard is a bit odd, but it kind of works.
Resolution. Well done. If you managed to guess it, good job. Now, the word resolution, it's almost like a promise to myself. Can you just unmute yourself for a second? There's something that I really want to show to you. When you see a word like this, just use the corner button and just click on unmute.
And once again, just encouraging people to participate.
What we're gonna do is we're just gonna resolution. Is it a noun or a verb or an adjective? What's the category of this word?
No.
Noun.
It's a noun.
Okay.
Brilliant. How do you know?
So students are immediately giving me the answers to the questions now. How do they know?
T-I-O-N.
It ends its T-I-O-N. That's very, very good.
Very impressive.
And so when we look at resolution, we know that it's something that you promise to yourself. It tends to be a positive thing. We looked at the word itself, so it's T-I-O-N. So
looking at meaning,
noun. Are there any
for the
other words
future.
that end in T-I-O-N that you can think
Now
of?
we're working with
You
forms.
just feel free to shout in.
Constitution. Constitution.
Rejection.
Congestion, pollution, congestion. And I don't know who said constipation, but that's a very good one as well. Now, there's one more thing that you need to know is that whenever you look at a word in the dictionary, you see something like that. Now, this little thing is the loudest part. So just listen and listen where the loudest part is when I say resolution. Resolution. Where's the loudest part? Lucian.
The accent.
Brilliant. Almost. It's not the accent, but we're very, very close. There's another word. It's called the. It's called the stress. Brilliant.
And just using some of the annotate tools on whiteboard.
Perfect.
It's always good to introduce
We know what it is, but we also know that
terminology
it's
later.
loud.
Like
So
they
there's
don't need
something
to
that
know
we
immediately that it's
also
called
need to
stress.
know.
As long as they understand that this is the loudest part in a word, then we can get to
If you
stress.
want to use a verb, what's the verb that goes with resolution?
So we looked at the meaning, form, and the
We don't
pronunciation
give
of
a
resolution. Now we're looking at
Has
collocations.
a resolution. Any ideas what goes with to make a resolution? Brilliant. You guys have done this. You've been to one of my lessons before. Brilliant. Perfect. All right. So we're gonna come back for now.
One thing is that you can see the number of participants. So there are about roughly 50 people, and about, I think, a third of them have their microphones on. The rest we need to work. Not sorry, the microphone, but the webcams on. The rest I'm using
And when I
chat
talked
and the
about
microphone to communicate
resolution,
with.
I made one myself. So I thought that in around, I think, March is when we had to start working from home. I made my own resolution, which was I want to try 5 new things that I haven't
And now
done
I'm
before.
building up towards the next part
So
of the
I
lesson.
went online and I made an order, and I ordered 5 different things. Just keep, for now, really, just leave your microphone unmuted, because I need you to
What I'm
figure
also
out
trying
what
to
they
signal
are.
to students is that if they
So let me
click
see,
their
just
microphone
leave microphones
unmuted and
this
they
video.
just leave it
Just
unmuted,
click on your
then they'll be
microphone
able to
bottom left
interact with
corner
me
and just
in the
click
next
on
part of the
unmute
lesson.
yourself. So, we
So
can
it's
actually
almost
hear
turning
you.
into an
Brilliant.
active listening
So
kind
the
of
first
guessing
thing that I
game. You'll
ordered
see
for
what they are.
myself was this. Can anyone guess what this is?
Feel free to guess along.
Lamp.
It's not really a
Mic.
microphone, but it's
I think it is the medical.
oh, it's not for. It's not. Yes, it would be very good, but the way where it's a lamp. Can you can you guess why I need this lamp?
For
Reading.
Okay, but reading when? When do I need this for reading?
At night.
At night. Why do
Just stopping the video there. Obviously, very simple, very simple object. But it does generate a very good discussion, and just taking the conversation forward as opposed to when do you read? Oh, sorry, you need for reading. When do you read? You need to elaborate more, get more, engage more.
you think I need to read at night with a little light and not having a big light on?
It's
Because
more
someone
painful for you guys.
Members of the family might sleep.
Exactly. I have a very, very small baby who sleeps in my arm every time. This is his favorite book,
Wow,
It is a
yeah,
classic.
that's
The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And the way it works is that when I just read, and I try not to wake him up, and then and when he's done, I just say, good night, and I turn the light off. Very, very good. Now, the next thing that I ordered.
It's being a bit silly, but we will also actually need all these items later, so it's important the students understand what they are.
waterproof
An armband.
It's an armband. Brilliant. Why do you think I need it?
for exercise.
For jogging.
For jogging, for running. Very, very good. Now, the next thing is not very easy. I'm telling you in advance.
wow.
Isn't that
What do we think this is? You can also see I have a nice lamp there.
a mirror?
Is it plate?
I think it's a mirror.
One thing to think about when you teach online is that I have a nice color here, just from a video editing point of view, but you can also see that I have a big, strong lamp in my face. It's a bit blinding, but it's absolutely worth it because your students can see you so much better than you sitting in the dark.
A mirror. Baking.
Oh.
Oh, someone said cooking, baking.
Baking, yeah.
Cooking
It's the
What's this? Yeah, what's this then?
the layer
Cookie
under
cutter?
the
Brilliant. Yes, it
What is-
comes with this.
yeah for the cheesecake.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheesecake.
Cheesecake, or yes,
Very impressive
what
that
I've been
students
trying
make
to do
cheesecake.
is I've been trying to bake Victoria sponge. It's the queen of the cakes. So what you do is you just fix it, put the cake in, and the cake will...
Will you cook it yourself? Or will your wife do it for you?
No, we do it. Baking is fun. Give it a go. Okay, now the next thing is this. What do we think this is?
It's
Well,
violin
It's
bag.
from guitar.
It's a coat for guitar.
It's a coat for a guitar. I like, that's very polite. Yeah, it's like a sweater for a guitar. It's not really, it's a case, but not really.
It's lovely to see what the students come up with when they don't know a word.
Quite clearly.
Wow, great.
Violin.
No.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh.
No, it's a little ukulele that I've been trying to say that.
It's aquela.
Did you like it? If you like it, give me a big thumbs up. Oh, brilliant. Good. Okay. Now, and there was
I'm very
one more
proud of
thing. I
that
told you there were
sequence.
5 things that I ordered, and there's one more thing. And this is very, very specific. Even, and I keep, it even also goes missing all the time. Here we go.
Oh, for the cutting hair.
Shaving.
Trimmer.
Shaving.
Trimmer.
Okay, so very, very good. What do you think it comes with? What do we call the thing that it comes with?
Shaving machine.
It's like
I
shaving
like the
machine,
idea of
little
the
toad.
shaving machine, but it works with a razor. This sounds angry. Okay, so do we remember what item number 1 was?
The light.
Yeah, a lamp.
It was the lamp.
And now you see why it was really important for the students to actually have a good idea of what the objects were, because they need to remember them.
The armband.
Armband.
The armband. Very good. What was item number 3?
The guitar case.
Okay.
It was the tin. It was the tin. It's TIN. Number 4 was
The ukulele.
the ukulele or the case for the ukulele. Very, very good. And what was number 5?
A part of the cutting machine.
Razor.
Yeah, like a razor.
And they all remember all of them.
Okay.
So,
Now,
good job teaching them, or good job covering these words.
trick you a little. Take some time. Of those 5 items, there was one I didn't touch, or I didn't teach myself how to use in the quarantine. Can you use the chat box? What do you think? Don't shout in. Just use the chat box.
Once again,
Put in the
encouraging.
number or the numbers that you think
It's very important to encourage different types of interaction. What happens also is when students stare at you, it's very intense. There's a lot that's happening, and you almost goof to the camera all the time. Give students a chance sometimes to just look down, have a think. What was they not using?
Was the cake tin, 4 was the ukulele case, and 5 was the razor. What do we think is the one that I...
One thing that I could do differently on Zoom is I think I could set up a poll so students could vote. I haven't used one yet, so I didn't want to risk it in a demo lesson, but it's an option as well.
Okay, so it seems like people are... Oh, Zarina, you know me too well. It's either 3, 4, or 5. They were very... I'm glad that many people think that I run, because during the quarantine, I mean, I'm transforming. Unfortunately, the wrong way. Now, let me tell you. This one, I don't use. My son's, he's now about 6 months, and he can finally go to sleep. It changed my life, but for 6 months, this was my best friend. Now, number 2, I do try to go for a run, like once or twice a week. What else do we have? This one, I've been baking twice a month. I've been trying many vegan recipes, so if you have dairy intolerance or if you're allergic to milk, there's just so much out there.
One thing to note is probably grading my language. It goes both and high, thinking about, dairy intolerance or if you're allergic to milk. It's just, without knowing your audience, it's very difficult to pitch it, but something with your own students you need to keep in mind. Like, are you going to go for dairy intolerance or are you going to go to milk allergy? It's something like two very different levels.
Or they didn't learn during quarantine. Do we remember? Can we just type in the chat box? What was the one item that
and once again, just trying to engage students a bit more and asking to come up with what I wasn't using.
Very good. This is the next thing on my list. I used to play the guitar, but I don't play it anymore, and I was never really very good at it. Brilliant. Now, imagine that you're like me. Imagine that you could order any 4 items from DHL or Amazon or Alibaba. You could order any 4 items, but you need to learn how to be good at it by the end of the lockdown. So just using the chat box at the bottom, what are the 4 items? What are the 4 things that you want to learn in the next 2 or 3 months?
So one thing probably is that as engaging as these things are, I'm probably relying a bit too much on the chat box. But it seemed like a very natural thing to ask students to do, especially if you want to give them time to do things by themselves, as opposed to just shouting in and creating an influx of voices. One thing that I like to do as well, that you can see now on the screen, is that whatever I ask students to do, I tend to put them on the screen, especially if there are things that they need to think about. Otherwise, I would need to repeat it again and again and again. But just putting on a message like, what are your 4 objects that you need to have, or that you need during quarantine? Students can just look at the question and then really type and just remember. It also, if you look at it now, it also gives them a nice break from the students, and the students a nice break from myself as well. So there's a breather for everyone, like, probably the information I'm saying is I'm very enthusiastic, I'm bringing a lot of energy, it's a demo lesson, it's important to go well. So it has to be high energy, but it would be very difficult to maintain in the long run. So it's very nice to think about actual breaks, and if I've been observing your lessons, that's also the reason why I'm telling you that. Give your students a chance to stand up, move around, look down, just break eye contact, and also give them a break from you. It's very energy consuming to keep staring at someone who just keeps staring in the camera. So the more you're able to give students a chance to breathe, the better you can come back and the more energy you can actually gain out of them.
All right, let's see what we have.
Also, during this entire time in the actual video, I was quiet. Here I was talking so I could narrate my thoughts. But it's also important to respect silence in the lesson.
Well, you should then study with Boxmore this summer. Start editing again, losing some weight, YouTube, learning bachata. We have a dancer in the crowd, practice the guitar, cooking, writing, laptop, books, food, a rentable car. I love that. Engineering. Once again, we have an engineering summer school this summer. Video games, football engine, getting a microphone, learning languages, using a camera so you can start your own YouTube channel, take up French classes, read books. Guys, very, very well done.
Probably here I could have pulled back the camera to myself as opposed to them staring at the question, but I was looking at the screen anyway.
I have to be honest.
Probably I'd pull it back now.
These things that I wanted to learn did not come from just my head. I saw a man do them on YouTube, on a TED Talk before. Can we just, once again, can we unmute the microphones? And you can just leave it like that for now. Just click in the bottom left corner and just unmute your microphone so I'll see all those.
So what you can see building up immediately is that I'm going to give students a chance to talk. So there's a very pull and push.
This is my YouTube friend. Before we discuss anything, what do we think his name is? Just shouting in. What does he look like?
Fred.
Sebastian.
Oh, someone likes a Little Mermaid.
Fred.
Bob.
John.
Okay, so probably this person doesn't have a very complicated name, but okay. Where do we think he is?
Chicago.
The bathroom.
That's very specific.
When you say the bathroom, how do you know that he's in a bathroom?
In the mirror.
In the mirror?
Yeah, it's a little thing. When you ask students to describe pictures, you can even go for the obvious things, but things you don't know, like what his job is, what his name is. Like, I'm asking about his job now.
Entertainer.
Could be an entertainer, yeah? Anything else?
Cosplayer.
Cosplay. Oh, very good. That says he saw an anime or manga or cartoon. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me actually tell you. His name is Matt. So, like I said, it's not a very complicated name. Don't tell Matt, the managing director, that it's not a very complicated
one
name.
of the agents was actually laughing at that joke, so it's worth it.
Not gonna like me if we say that. Can we, before we move on, can I just ask you to just click mute on the microphone? We're going to be watching a video, and I want to show you what Matt did. So,
That's so nice. Signposting, telling students what happened, but also to mute
I'd
their
like you to,
sounds.
while we watch, it's about 3 minutes, I'd like you to use the chat box and really just, he will talk about many things that he did for some time, and just type those in. Just type those in the chat box as we go along. Okay? I'm going to start a video. It's about 3 minutes. In the meantime, really just use the chat box, and then we're going to check the answers together.
So before we actually watch the video, I'm going to give you some time and space to watch the video on your own as well, but I'm going to be obviously here with you. The important thing is that we're going to be watching a video that's 3 or 4 minutes, so we need to give a task for students to do. It's very difficult to watch something without knowing why you're watching it. There are absolute times when you ask students that we're going to watch a video and you need to summarize it, but it's very difficult to tell students that we're going to watch something and then you watch and then you discuss, because there's no attention, there's no focus on what's going to be discussed. Whereas now, students have a clear task, they need to focus on what things did Matt do, and we're going to play the video. I'm going to step back 3.5 minutes. Once again, break time, breathing time, and students get to watch someone else talking and not just myself. A disclaimer here, I didn't know that I was still going to be recorded, so I was chatting with one of my colleagues in the crowd, just asking how things are going.
A few years ago, I felt like I was stuck in a rut. So
one more thing while you're watching a video, in Zoom, make sure you click on Optimize. If you don't, it becomes very laggy. But this was actually the quality that was recorded online and what students had. So it's a nice experience. It's a bit fuzzy, so you can see that the quality is being a little tempered with. If you click on Optimize when you screen share, it will make the video go much faster.
Morgan Spurlock, and try something new for 30 days. The idea is actually pretty simple. Think about something you've always wanted to add to your life and try it for the next 30 days. It turns out 30 days is just about the right amount of time to add a new habit or subtract a habit, like watching the news, from your life. There's a few things that I learned while doing these 30-day challenges. The first was, instead of the months flying by forgotten, the time was much more memorable. This was part of a challenge I did to take a picture every day for a month, and I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing that day. I also noticed that as I started to do more and harder 30-day challenges, my self-confidence grew. I went from desk-dwelling computer nerd to the kind of guy who bikes to work for fun. Even last year, I ended up hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa.
One of the other advantages of using Prezi Video is that you can keep the question up, so I don't need to tell my students to take a picture of the question. But what you can also do is that you can just tell them what the questions are going to be, ask them to write down, or just put it on a sheet and ask them to use your phone, take a photo.
People try to write their own 50,000-word novel from scratch in 30 days. It turns out all you have to do is write 1,667 words a day for a month. So I did. By the way, the secret is not to go to sleep until you've written your words for the day. You might be sleep deprived, but you'll finish your novel. Now, is my book the next great American novel? No, I wrote it in a month. It's awful. But for the rest of my life, if I meet John Hodgman at a TED party, I don't have to say, I'm a computer scientist. No, if I want to, I can say, I'm a novelist. So here's one last thing I'd like to mention. I learned that when I made small, sustainable changes, things I could keep doing, they were more likely.
There's also one more advantage of using students use the chat box while watching, is that if students are taking notes in front of them on the computer, you have no idea what's happening. Whereas if you ask students to take notes in the chat box as they're watching, you get good feedback, you immediately get monitoring, you know what they're up to, you know what they paid attention to, you know what they're going to know. It just informs your teaching decisions so much better after the video.
Why not think about something you have always wanted to try and give it a shot for the next 30 days. Thanks.
All right, let's come together. Let's come back together. If you haven't yet, just use the chat box. What things did you do?
And it's also giving those students a chance who weren't taking notes, but hopefully everyone was encouraged to take notes.
Did you have a great time? Something new for the next 30 days? Take a picture, grow self-confidence.
And as I'm reading things out loud, I'm sure you can tell that students were really engaged, they typed a lot, so I have a lot of information to work with.
Is there anything else that hit it, or is there, he caught up sugar? Very good point. Okay.
I also don't immediately accept, I say that it's great, but I also try to constantly encourage students, is there anything else? Can you remember anything else?
You guys remember so much. Well
But
done.
also staying within the topic.
We're going to watch the video again, but this time the question is, what did he learn from the project? So just like we're typing, as you're watching the video, just type in the answer. And we're going to watch the video again. And then this time, try focus on the question of what did he learn from the project, but also pay attention to the language he's using, because we'll discuss some of that.
Once again, signposting that we'll be focusing on the language as well. For the second listening, give the students a different task, but also they've already seen the video more, they already have a better idea of the speaker's language, tone, speed, range, so they can start paying attention a bit more.
I felt like I was
What's here?
stuck in a rut.
Stuck in a rut?
So I decided to follow in the footsteps of the great
Following the
American
footsteps?
philosopher Morgan Spurlock and try something new for 30 days. The idea is actually pretty simple. Think about something you've always wanted to add to your life and try it for the next 30 days. It turns out 30 days is just
We're also
about
going
the right
to
amount of
discuss
time to
add
new
and
habit
subtract,
or
and
watching the news.
there's also
in your life.
one more thing that I want to
There's a
talk
few
about
things
is
that I learned
the
while doing
choice
these
of the
30-day
video.
challenges.
This is an authentic
First was,
material, so
instead of
it was
months
in
flying
no...
by, forgotten, the
There's
time
one,
was much more memorable.
and we're going to come back to
This was
memorable
part of a
loss. Just
challenge I did to
remember
take a
the three
picture every day for a
phrases
month.
that he
And I
uses in
remember
very
exactly
prominent
where I
positions.
was and what I was doing
Another
that
thing
day.
I want to talk about is the video.
I also
It's fairly
noticed
simple,
that
but
as
it's
I started to do
authentic.
more and harder
I didn't
30-day
manipulate the
challenges,
footage
my
in
self-confidence
any way,
grew.
so while I was
went from
creating the
desk dwelling
task,
computer nerd
I was
to
thinking,
a
what
kind
is
of guy
it
who bikes to work.
that students will understand?
Fun.
Students, even if they don't
Even
understand
last
everything,
year, I ended up
there are
hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro,
images,
the highest
there's
mountain in
information,
Africa.
and a nice
I would
pacing of the things
never
that he
have
did.
been that adventurous before I started my 30-day
And
challenges.
also, in very prominent
I also
notes,
figured
in very
out
prominent
that
positions,
if
he
you
talks
really
about
want
his
something
experience
badly
and what he learned
you
about
can do
the
anything for
what the
30
experience
days.
of 30-day
Have you
challenges.
ever wanted to write a novel?
So always look at the video,
Remember, tens of
listen to it
thousands of
first, and
people
think about
try
what
to
are
write
the
their own
prominent
50,000-word
things.
novel from
His prominent
scratch
thing is that he
in 30
talks about
days.
a list,
It turns out
and
all you
also
have
what
to
he
do
learned.
is write
So
1,667 words
making
a
my
day for a month.
2 questions around those
So I did.
felt very natural.
By the
It
way,
doesn't
the
work with all the
secret is
videos,
not to go to
but it
sleep
worked really
until
well
you've
with
written
this
your
one.
words for the day. You might be sleep deprived, but you'll finish your novel. Now, is my book the next great American novel? No, I wrote it
During the
wrong.
video,
It
there's one
all
more
wrong.
prominent thing about the video, is that he constantly uses
For the rest
images.
of my life, if I meet John
So
Hodgman at a
we
tea
talked
party,
about the list
I
of
don't
things that
have
he'd
to
done,
say,
things that he
I'm not a
learned,
computer scientist.
and the
No,
third
no, if
most
I want
prominent
to, I
feature
can
of the
say,
video is that he uses a
I'm a
lot of images.
novelist.
So these actually form the
So
backbone
here's
of
one
my
last thing
lesson.
I'd like to mention. I learned that
Like
when I
right
made
now, that's an
small,
image as well.
sustainable changes, things I could
And then
keep
there'll be
doing,
one more with the
they were
sweets
more
at the
likely to
end.
stick.
So it
There's
immediately
nothing
got me
wrong with
thinking, like,
big,
what are we going to do
crazy
with the
challenges.
images?
In fact,
Students are going to
they're a
see
ton
them,
of fun,
so let's make
but they're
use of
less
them.
likely to stick. When I gave up sugar for 30 days, day 31 looked like this.
Like this image, very prominent, stop,
So
laugh.
here's my question to you. What are you waiting for? I guarantee you the next 30 days are going to pass whether you like it or not.
If you visit TED.com,
So why not think about
there
something
are
you
some
have
really,
always
really nice
wanted
materials
to
there.
try, and give it a shot
And some of them
for the next
are
30
made
days.
for language learners, some are not, but you can also find a script. It's really, really useful and much recommended entertainment as well. One thing is that this was downloaded onto my own computer, so streaming was also much faster than watching something online. My advice is always, if you want to show something, download it first, and then it will only stream from your computer to theirs.
Try to do things consistently. Very, very nice. Well done, everyone. Now, I wonder. You can see 3 expressions that he used right over here, and the number of dots in the first one is 3. You see 3 dots, so the word has 3 letters. Just use the chat box. Can you try to type in what do we think the words are?
So, looking at what the individual students understood and RUT. So giving students as much help as I can, but also it's individual work. I'm interested in how much they know as a group, but I'm also interested in how much they know individually. So probably in the lesson, one issue for me to think about for next time is that I seem to overuse the chat box, so you will need to be creative and what else I can do with a big crowd of people. Once again, the polls seem like a good option.
Ideas are coming in. I'm going to give you just 30 more seconds. But this time I'm going to be very serious with 30 seconds, so go.
Obviously, this is just a bit of a theater, and I'm also getting something really, you'll see. But it's just, once again, breaking space, doing something different, bringing a bit theatrical element, like looking at the students, adding a bit more pressure. It's all very natural, and it's all like good acting practice. What I could have also done is just put a timer on.
1. This is the best application you can find on a phone. It's just
And the buzzer app is fun.
Okay, so let's see.
If I was to use screen share with that, I'd probably put a timer up somewhere so there's even more pressure, but you can't really do it with press a video. So something I'd probably do different in my next lesson.
Once again, for this part again, can you unmute your microphone? Because I'll need your help. So the first one was just going to put it there. So we remember that it started with an R.
So a couple of the students started putting in it, I was stuck in a rat, which is very, very close.
Do we know what that was? If it's not a rat, what's something that sounds like a rat, but it's a bit different?
Rot.
It's a rut. How do you spell rut?
You.
It's with a U. Brilliant. Very, very good. Okay, so when I'm stuck in a rut, can I move forward? Can I improve? Can I change? Is it possible?
No.
Not really.
So working with the
A
meaning
rut
first.
is an area where the horses go on the ground, and if they go many times, and in the road you can see the rut, for
So
example,
that's
like
an example,
this,
but hopefully
where
it
you
kind of
can't
works.
move on. So does it mean that I'm physically stuck in a rut?
No, not physically.
Not physically? What do we call that term in English when we mean something but we don't need word by word? Do we know what that thing is called?
Idiom.
It's an idiom.
Very good.
Very good.
Try whenever you can, try to elicit from the students.
So an idiom is
Remember,
where we
I wasn't
say
telling the
something,
students that
but we don't
it's
need
an
word
idiom
for
that
word.
does this or
It's a
that.
metaphor. It's an example.
because the more important thing is the students understand that I wasn't physically stuck in a rut, and that we didn't mean things word by word.
What's the category of rut? Is it a noun, a verb, or an adjective?
Noun.
It's a noun. How do you know?
Because you can't be stuck in a verb or an adjective.
Brilliant. Very,
logical.
very good. Yeah, and there's also an article before, so we know it's a noun. Now, what about stuck? It's a bit trickier. What's the category for that one? Do we
Verb.
know? It's a verb, but is it the...
It's debatable here whether it's a past participle or an adjective, but for this specific lesson, because we'll also be looking at following the footsteps, it made much more sense to use this as a verb.
Do we know?
Stick.
Stick. Really, really good. Very, very good.
So a lot coming from the students. They're really good. So make use of your audience and try to elicit. So once someone's dog's barking, so I just have to mute them.
Now, just listen out. We talked about this black thing, the stress. Where's the loud part when we say I'm stuck in a rut? Where can you hear the loud part? Stuck in a rut. How many of those loud parts can you hear? Stuck in a rut. There's definitely one of a rut, so we know that there's a stress. Is this the only one when we say stuck in a rut? Stuck in a rut.
Look at how I was just beating stuck in a rut.
Really, really good.
It really helps to get it from the students since it's like I was stuck in a rut.
One more thing in this expression.
So think of
Stuck in a rut. Do you hear four words or do you hear something like stuck in a rut?
something that's
Which one
trend.
is more natural? The first, stuck in a rut, or stuck in a rut?
Stuck in it.
Exactly. And what happens is that when we say things really,
That's a
really
bit clumsy.
fast,
Um,
they become connected. They almost disappeared. So, stuck in a rut. In a rut. Brilliant. Now, the second...
One thing I could have done here is to do some pronunciation drills, but once again it's difficult with a big audience.
What else? What could you follow? Some of you said steps is part of the word, but what sort of steps? Following the... We need something, something, steps. Sorry, something, something, something. What could this be?
Footstep.
Footsteps. Brilliant. Very, very good. Sorry. Once again, when I say following the footsteps, do I literally mean follow someone and just go behind them?
No.
No?
No.
So it's another...
Medium.
It's another idiom. Very, very
Brilliant.
good.
Which is also the reason
Following the footsteps.
why I
Do
chose
something
these
similar
two,
with
stuck in a rut and following the
Now,
footsteps.
without me telling you,
They also
where's
very,
the
very similar structures to the
footsteps?
verb and the noun, so that's why it was a bit better to use past participle there.
It's a noun. Brilliant. What about follow?
Verb.
It's a verb. Good. Okay. Now, once again, you're getting so much better at this. So where do we put the stress? Where do we put the loud parts? How many do we have? Do we have 1, 2, 3, or 4? Following the footsteps.
So Sid,
Following the footsteps. How many can you hear?
2.
Following the footsteps. We hear 2. Where are the loud parts?
so once again, a lot of elicitation, a lot coming from the students, and even if they don't know, I give them a different chance, or I give them a different opportunity, and saying instead of following the footsteps, I was stuck in a rut.
That we'll be looking at today is time was much more
Memorable.
memorable.
They already know a lot, so they picked up on a lot of things. So just by waiting a little, and instead of me telling them, they were able to come up with a lot.
Very good.
Obviously, the board is a bit messy.
Something is
Things that I should have focused on is
easy to forget.
I was so CCQs for memorable.
Do you remember it for a long time?
Yes.
Brilliant. Very, very good. Now, where's the, how do we I said it a couple times already. What was this part? If this is just a word, How do you say it if this is one word?
Memory.
Memory.
If this word,
Able.
able, but in this word it's
Memorable.
memorable. Yeah, very good. If you like English phonemes, then that's the schwa, that's the memorable.
So nice.
Very good.
Prompt word. I also got to focus on connected speech here at the
Let's go
bottom.
back together. Really, really good. Now, I took a couple pictures from the story, and I'd like you to
And
just
now it's
follow me
referring
through
back to the
story. Just
very
keep your
prominent
microphones on.
feature is that
Don't
we're going to be looking
do
at
you
images
remember what
together.
this image was?
Very natural. He used them in the video as well, so I might as well use them
What
too.
was he talking about when he was talking about this?
The philosopher.
The philosopher? Yeah, very good. And what was the philosopher doing, or what was he doing with the philosopher?
The 30-day challenge.
30-day challenge.
30-day challenge.
Students were very
Wanted to do
active.
the same example.
So-
So what was the language he used? He
Followed in.
followed in the
So
footsteps.
students really
Very good.
learned especially about following the footsteps.
Sounds
What
good.
were what were these things?
List
Examples
of
of
these challenges.
Examples of his challenges. Very, very good. Okay, what about this one? It's a bit more tricky, but what was this image?
The photo challenge.
The photo challenge?
Yeah.
What? Every day he
Took a
Take a
photo.
picture.
took a photo, and what was the word that someone was already saying? To make things more
Memorable.
memorable.
Very,
Brilliant.
just a
Very,
nice
very
recap
good.
of the language.
Now, we already talked about how he biked to work, but what was this one? Do you remember what this one was?
Writing a novel.
Writing a novel. How long did he have?
These, just giving students a chance. I think I kind of washed things together.
No sugar.
Like the images would have worked really well as a comprehension check task as well. So what I could have done is put up the images
The end of the
as well
challenge.
and ask students to put them in order, or they could have predicted the content themselves. So there were more opportunities as
In
well.
just one or two sentences. I'm just going to mute everyone for now, but we can come back later. Just one or two sentences. What's your challenge that if you want to do something for 30 days, just using the chat box, what's your own challenge going to be? So take a minute, have a think. We already talked about the different things that you want to learn, but this time you have to do that thing for
And the same
30
thing.
days in a row.
Students have a writing task. The task is written up. They have time. They're encouraged to take their time.
30 days.
We don't need to communicate. We don't need to rush.
Take about a minute.
And it's also a very natural follow-up. Like, look, we talked about the things that they want to do during quarantine. We watched someone do a 30-day challenge. So it's very natural to finish the lesson and ask someone, like, what would be your 30-day challenge? What would you do for 30 days? Very simple lesson, but with a great production task at the end. Obviously, if it was a one-to-one setting, you would have a nice discussion with the students. Take some time, take notes, and tell me why you want to do that thing, or what is the thing, why you want to do that. How would you maintain the same challenge for 30 days?
Give everyone a chance. So take 20 more seconds, and then we're going to come back together.
But just once again, people weren't really typing in, so you just actually give people another opportunity to take part if they want to. And I think just generally, the entire video now is silent, but it's very natural because the students are working. I can see the chat box. I know they're working. There's progress made, but we don't need to fill in this gap.
All right, let's have a look together. Just going to get it out of the way for now. Writing a diary, losing weight, learning languages, staying without a phone. I don't know how you would do 30 days without your phone. To me, that sounds impossible. I wouldn't go one day without my phone.
And they're just
Very,
reacting
very
to the
good.
content of what people said.
Now, just out of interest, I put together a list of words that we talked about today. In the entire lesson, what do we think they were? What was the?
And then it's just recap and revision of the language we covered.
Wood,
Wood.
very good. Okay, now the next one was
Chunk.
chalk,
Could.
or what was the other word with beginning with a C? Would, chalk, or could. Brilliant. What about the next one? It's a long word.
Root. Wood chop.
Brilliant, very good. Now, how about the next one?
Rot.
Right, brilliant. Okay, how about the next one?
Footstep.
And it's really going through the list. I could have pointed them, or I could have typed them in. But you can't use annotate and your own camera feed at the same time. But what I could have done is put these on a PowerPoint, put in an image, and actually just type it in. Should have or could have done that.
Subtract.
Subtract, brilliant. And the last word was
Memory.
But students did a good job remembering everything during the lesson. So it's fairly impressive.
I want to make sure that you can relive the experience. So I made a little something for you that I want to show to you in just a second. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
Okay, so what I did is that I just set up a Padlet for the student. They can go there. The lesson slides are uploaded.
I'm going to share the link with you, and I put this lesson up on Padlet. Padlet is a site that I really like using, and you can revisit the lesson anytime. And if you look at the bottom part, this one, that's me. If you feel like starting a 30-day challenge,
I really do recommend, especially like a timer kind of thing.
let us know.
In a Padlet, you can create your own lesson cards. So like any positives, that could be a lesson. And if you click on the plus, you can create your own thing.
Which is in, sorry, I'm just going to clear this. Is a Quizlet site.
And something that we've already looked at is Quizlet.
Remember words and if you want to
So I just typed in the word cards for the students as part of the lesson. And it's a demo lesson. It's really important for us to show that learning takes place in the class, but there's also students can go away and do a 30-day challenge. And that we also do something with students outside classroom. So if they want to do a recap, they can go to Padlet. If they want to test themselves, then they can just use Quizlet.
Firm decision to do or not to do something. Does anyone remember
Resolution.
its resolution? Okay.
And once again, get it from the students. Give an example.
What was the expression that we used?
Following the footsteps.
Brilliant. Now, there are also some magic questions. So, subtract, is it worth remembering, to throw, or to take away? To take away, but about memorable? Is it worth remembering, or is it to throw? Remembering. Then we have multiple choice questions as well. To have more of something, is it subtract, add, would? Brilliant. And there also.
And what I could have done here is slow down. It's like, oh really? How do you know? Does anyone have a different answer?
Not be able to move forward. Is it stuck in a rut? True or false?
True.
It's true. So when you
And then what Quizlet does, it actually grades your score. So it's a really good way for students to repeat and practice.
60% I think is still pretty good. So I'm going to share those links with you. In fact, let's do this. I'm just going to...
And I just put the link up, but I also, I think I copied the link for them to take away in the chat box.
Just taking a photo or taking a screenshot if you want, then this is the link to my Padlet. So to take a screenshot, you can just press Ctrl-Alt-Print Screen or on a Windows module, or you can just use a snipping tool.
And it's nice to, a little thing like how you take a screenshot. It's just a useful thing to do online.
So, guys, thank you so much for coming today. Sorry, there you are. Thank you so much for coming today. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to have a small chat. Otherwise, you're free to go. We very much hope to see you again in the future. At Boxware, we're going to teach you a demo lesson each week between now and July.
And a little advertising at the end. But it's also nice to add, even in your lesson, if you say that we're going to finish 2 minutes early, but we're going to have just a Q&A session at the end if they have any questions.
So the next one's going to be university preparation. Then we'll have a session on how to manage your time. Then we're going to have a business lesson. And
I'll also be very happy to share these sessions with you as well later, so you can observe the lesson. I probably won't do reaction videos to all of them, but you can watch the lesson in your own time and see what we do as part of Boxmore.
Put our email address in.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording now. There's really no use watching it any further. And just to avoid or take away from the distraction, I'm just going to come back here. So this is by no means a perfect lesson, and I hope that, while I was talking you through, you'll also get a good idea of why I do things, what my thought process is, and really just plan my lesson all along the way of what I want to do before the video part, how I'm going to do the video part, how I give a task before the video, and then I show the video. Watching the video, I immediately think that what can we use the video later. I don't mind lessons where you do a lot of different activities, but it's also, we as teachers, we have to plan a lot. So whenever you can, try to save time by exploiting the material as much as you can. This was my very first reaction video. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been about an hour, so I hope it counts as 1 hour of CPD. In post-production, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add different little bits and snippets. I'm using something called Camtasia, and it's made for screencast and then actual annotation after. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope it gave you some ideas, and good luck with your own lessons. Bye.